My name's Ada Mugenyi. Others know me as Princess Pagaya. I'm 54 years old, turning 55. A mother of 4 children and now 3. And I'm a proud warrior caregiver. I still consider myself way from the beginning right up to now, and I'm very proud of it. Sickle cell in our days was very rare. I only remember a classmate in Namagunga who had sickle cell, and we never really, it wasn't rampant, nobody knew about it, so we just knew sickle cell existed, and that was it. For me, in our family line, I didn't know sickle cell existed. I had no idea that we were carriers. We didn't know what carriers are all about. So it was a shock when you were born, and then you played a bit, and then your feet swelled, and then we went for all kinds of tests, and we couldn't find out what it was until a specific doctor, Dr. Kasiria, finally said, let's check for sickle cell. Now, for me at that point, it was like, oh my goodness. I thought it was a death sentence for my baby. So I remember with my sister, we got up when we were at Fang restaurant crying and just saying, God, at least let this child grow, because we don't know anything about sickle cell. So, but after that, we took one step at a time with you. Fortunately, we were transferred to Mombasa. We found the best doctor, a very good Dr. Kariuki, and she told us we were in the right place where there's lots of oxygen. So with you, your crises stopped at the age of 2, and it was bliss. We enjoyed ourselves in Mombasa for 5 years. You were my little bodyguard, as I always used to say, since I was in the airline, flying with you back and forth, Mombasa, Nairobi. So I didn't panic about sickle cell because I didn't experience much while I lived in Mombasa. But Dr. Kariuki advised me that when always stay at the sea level, because that's where there's lots of oxygen. So your crises weren't often as a child. I was a bit scared that my second born would have sickle cell, but I was like, I can't have only one child. So I got the second child. I waited for the symptoms, nothing happened. I didn't go for any tests, nothing happened. He was okay, he's a carrier. So I got more confident. So when I got Byron, again, he was a very beautiful baby, but I wasn't really bothered. I was like, if I've managed with Dawn up to now, I don't think it's going to be a hassle with Byron. So I was very positive about him, even though he had sickle cell. Although he's now took a different tangent, it was more severe than yours. So he kept going into crisis after crisis, and Uganda couldn't handle. The medical expertise in Uganda was so bad. So we transferred you. We preferred to take you to a low sea level area in South Africa. That's when we took you to St. Andrews. The first year was difficult for you adapting. You went into a crisis, but I was there for you. Since I was working in the airline, I always had time to fly down and come and see you. But when we saw Uganda wasn't handling sickle cell, giving aspirin, of course aspirin cannot help pain. You are in a long queue waiting with other people. Your child is crying in pain. No one is attending to you. We made the decision now to move. I dropped my career. I was an assistant manager in an airline. Dropped my career and said, let me just go to South Africa and look after my children. I knew there was stigma. I started to see there was stigma towards people who were warriors. So I decided I'll protect my children against that stigma. They will grow where nobody knows about sickle cell and be themselves. So good enough, South Africa. Byron took hard to first stabilize the first 2 years. We were in and out of hospital, but we had a very good doctor called Dr. Patches in Green Acres Hospital in Port Elizabeth. So he used Byron as a guinea pig to find more about sickle cell. And he actually taught us more than than Ugandans know. The Ugandan doctors didn't know what information he was giving me. So he was fantastic. Whenever Byron would go into a crisis, he would already organize for me the bed. Byron would be given a small shot of pethidine, no crying. The crisis would take 5 days. I would also be treated as a patient. I'd literally have fun in the hospital. I wouldn't be stressed. So South Africa handled sickle cell so well. You grew so well. Everyone would ask, are you sure your children really have sickle cell? They don't have the features of people who have sickle cell. That is because you were happy children, swimming. Through winter, you would go through it without any crisis. So the 8 years we had in South Africa, Ashley came on board as a baby. She also went into a sickle cell crisis. First 2 years it was managed. She stopped going into crises. So I look back and I thank God. I say, God, thank you so much, because my children were my life. You made me so happy. I didn't see anything wrong with children who have sickle cell. It was just part of my life, and we had so much fun. We were so close, and I thank God for that. I didn't have many defining moments because everything flowed very well for me, but I always thank God because God came first. Whenever I'd have an issue or whenever I'd be stressed, I would reach out to God. Mother Mary, I'm a Catholic, I'm a very staunch Catholic, so I was always praying, and I'd always somehow find myself calm. So I thank God that He actually gave me the role to be a caregiver. I enjoyed it. I honestly enjoyed it. I can't look back and say I regretted any moment, because whenever a crisis would happen, I'll make sure I give you the best after. Then you'd all forget. You don't forget you went through a very rough time in hospital. And it made me closer with you. I understand my children so well. And I'm very protective because of that. I feel very offended when somebody offends any of my children because of that bond that I had. And I thank God for it. Being a caregiver has taught me how to be patient. I actually look back at myself when I'm in hospital, maybe like with you, and I'm watching you going through pain and I'm not panicking. And I'm seeing you in ICU and I'm not panicking. I'm calm and I'm telling you, don't offer up your pain for those who are suffering. So I've become so patient. Nothing scares me. When you go into a crisis, I don't think about anything negative. I'm just saying, counting the days down. I'm like, 3 days to go, this pain will be gone. So you'll notice sometimes I'm smiling with you, I'm talking with you, I'm reading my book like nothing is going on. But imagine it, since you were babies, I never panicked. And I thank God for the support system I had. Basically my mom, she was a true rock. She was there with me all the time. When we made the decision to leave Uganda, to drop my career, my mom just told me, Ada, just leave. Nobody here understands this situation because your child is screaming in pain. South Africa taught me that, Dr. Patches taught me about the pain being 7 times labor pain. And since I had been through labor pain, that just taught me how to be patient. I honestly would like to tell people who are not patient with any person going through pain, a warrior, you're really doing the warrior injustice. Just be patient, the pain will go. Especially with the stress of today, people are working, no money. I can imagine people are stressed with daily life, but what comes first is being patient with somebody going through pain. The myths were there before you were born about sickle cell, how people with sickle cell don't live long, and but when you were growing up, it didn't occur to me because I was responsible for your life. I would make sure you're hydrated. I'd make sure you sleep. I'd make sure everything is sorted out. We had a peaceful life in South Africa, no disturbance. So the myths went, but I don't know if this relates to what people talk about warriors being addicted to medicine because of the painkillers that are given. What I noticed in Mombasa and South Africa is they would give it to you in the first 3 days to make sure they kill that pain, which is going to bring trauma. And that's why you'd come out without trauma, because the pain has been killed in the first 3 days. They'd use pethidine, small bits, or morphine normally used to have a very bad effect. So they always used to use pethidine. And sure enough, you'd come out of a crisis, you have already forgotten all your pain. And you're just out having fun, watching movies. So that myth of saying people are going to be addicted to the painkillers, I think I find it very offensive as a mother, because I've watched my children as well not being addicted to it. I honestly don't think there's been any hard moment, apart from a time in South Africa when, fortunately, you were in boarding, and then Calvin was young and he had to help me with Byron while we were in hospital. So I had to leave Calvin in an Airbnb alone, and then I'd have to be in the hospital with Byron. That was the hardest moment for me, I think. But other times, God has helped us through. We've just patiently watched pain. The last 2 moments when something good happens, Calvin got twins, then you're in hospital. So I was running between the two of you. That was very hard for me. You're happy this side, you're sad on this side. Yeah. Whenever something good is happening, something bad happens. Then the second one was also when I went to Nairobi to celebrate their birthday, the twins' birthday. Then you're sick as well, and I can't tear myself between the two of you. So those are the hard moments. But otherwise, I thank God that you're on your feet, you're adults, and you understand now how to take care of yourself. Yeah, that was quite hard because we went to America. We didn't have anybody apart from taking you to university. And then now we're in the middle of nowhere with nobody, but God again kicked in. We had the best experience, even though he was on a PICC line, which is, a PICC line, the tube that goes right to the heart. So if it gets an infection, any infection could easily have killed him. But the fact that he was in ICU, being attended to by 8 doctors, 8 specialists, I didn't have money. Insurance paid half, and then the hospital said pay 10% instead of $200,000. So God was with me the whole time. We didn't have anywhere to stay. Social workers came and gave us a beautiful apartment like this, with everything, with Wi-Fi. They took us out to Disneyland. They asked Byron, what would you want to do in America? And they made it happen. Disneyland, Globetrotters. He went to see the snow. So what was very sad ended up being so joyful. And at the same time, I didn't know that God was preparing me to have the last days with him. So I remember when Byron died, my sister was beginning crying over the phone because she was in America, and she was saying, God, and I told her, don't blame God. I told her God gave me the chance to have 2 full months with Byron in my bed because he refused to sleep in his bed. And we really had a good time. We laughed together. He had everything. So God is a pillar in our life. I look back and I really thank God for everything. Attended to by 8 doctors, 8 specialists. I didn't have money. Insurance paid half, and then the hospital said pay 10% instead of $200,000. So God was with me the whole time. We didn't have anywhere to stay. Social workers came and gave us a beautiful apartment like this, with everything, with Wi-Fi. They took us out to Disneyland. They asked Byron, what would you want to do in America? And they made it happen. Disneyland, Globetrotters, he went to see the snow. So what was very sad ended up being so joyful. And at the same time, I didn't know that God was preparing me to have the last days with him. So I remember when Byron died, my sister was beginning crying over the phone because she was in America and she was saying, God, and I told her, don't blame God. I told her God gave me the chance to have 2 full months with Byron in my bed because he refused to sleep in his bed. And we really had a good time. We laughed together. He had everything. So God is a pillar in our life. I look back and I really thank God for everything. Oh, there are people who are treasures in my life who I always look back, who I leaned on. The first, is Mother Mary. As I'm a Catholic, a staunch Catholic, I love praying. She helped me through my marriage, through looking after my children. Secondly was my mom. I was only 21 years old. My daughter is 20 and I get a panic attack to imagine if she went through what I went through. Because I assumed I can handle the world all by myself. Then I realized the importance of a mother. She stood by me. My sister was my rock. When a child would be sick, even at 4 in the morning, she'd come and help me out. There's a time Byron I had given birth to Byron. Calvin was sick, 4 o'clock in the morning. My sister left her home with her children, came to me, sorted me out in hospital. So up to now, she's still my rock. Whenever I'm breaking down, Ada, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. So she's been my, I can't call her a walking stick. She's been my rock. Then there are specific families who I really want to thank because I lived out of the country most of the time. Mombasa, I had the Rugamba family, Alex and Duff. They really loved me to bits. I had Iris and Brown Ondego and family, both in Mombasa, Kenya, and Nairobi, and South Africa. Those, I honestly thank God. God put them on my path to keep me strong. Up to now, they're still my rock as well. I call them my Kenyan family, and all of you now interact with them as family. Yeah. Then in South Africa, there was an old lady who was my spiritual director, Lizolo. She kept me grounded in God. So she's the one who helped me to go through the South Africa. It was lonely because I was only with children, no adult to really talk to. So she's the only one who kept me talking, but talking to God basically, because we were praying. And then America, Christine Harrow and Susan, who put me in touch with, who looked after me and Byron. They made sure we had food. They made sure we had a good time. Made sure we go everywhere that Byron wanted to go. I must say Dr. Patches and Dr. Kariuki. Dr. Kariuki in Mombasa, Dr. Patches in South Africa. Those were the best doctors I had ever dealt with in my life. And who taught me about sickle cell, about cell food, which I'm trying to promote. I don't know if we can ever get it in Uganda, but it would really help warriors very well. So I think basically those are the pillars in my life. To trust in God, not to lose hope, not to think they've been given a sentence and dread it. Because warriors, first of all, your child is the most beautiful child you'll ever have. Even though you look at other children, still your child is the most beautiful. So love the role that you've been given by God to be a caregiver. Then secondly, follow the rule of rest and hydration. That's what helped me. I'd make sure you get 8 hours of sleep, hydrated. But it doesn't have to be water. And I was fortunate in South Africa, there was a juice which was made of milk, very nice, tasty juice. So those jerrycans would just be going in the fridge. I didn't have to tell anybody, drink, drink, drink. That just sorted me out. Hydration was not a question for me. But as you grow older and you feel independent, when somebody tells you hydrate, you're like, oh, there she goes again. But as a parent, you just are patient with it. I'm very proud of you and Ashley, the fact that you have this foundation. And I want to stand behind you most to help you in terms of getting a hospital. I hope your foundation eventually, like Loma Linda Hospital, I keep saying my vision for you people is to have that care, specifically hematology. What I saw in Loma Linda Hospital, really, I only wish I could transport people there and they see fantastic care. You feel like you're being pampered. You don't feel sick. Yeah. So I'm very proud of you and Ashley and your team. I'm very proud to see where you're heading. Of course, I was very hurt when Josie died. I saw her. It was. I met her way before you. I think she told you. It was a different occasion. I was working for Rwanda Air. I was at the Sheraton, and I just looked at her and I asked her, "Do you have sickle cell?" And she was like, "How do you know?" And I was like, "I can see. Yeah, you can see you have sickle cell." And she's like, and then I told her I have children with sickle cell, but I can see you have. Then I talked about you, and she talked about herself. She told me that time she used to get sickle cell crises, and her brother wasn't getting. So I was telling her, stay positive. Whenever you see a crisis coming, don't panic. Because when you panic, it actually comes on. Then when you don't panic, it actually doesn't come. So that's how I met her. I didn't know down the line you'd meet her differently on another path altogether, but I was happy to see her. Of course, I was very hurt like you, and that's another reason why I want to support you, because I know the pain you went through losing a very close friend. There's no way I could comfort you or console you, but I just knew I'd lost a son. I knew what it feels like to lose somebody who you're very close to. So you have my back, and I'm praying to God that I can get people from out there who understood, especially the Rotarians in San Bernardino in America. If I had continued, I know by now your foundation would be way ahead. But then I was working there, I was with Rwanda Air, been diverted. But now I'm back on course. I told you I'm going to be back on board. What I'd like to share is I want to encourage all the warriors. They are not alone. You have so much love and support from people. The last dinner was very touching to hear experiences, and I want to reach out to radio stations. There's a lot of awareness of cancer, but sickle cell and diabetes, the awareness is, but sickle cell has been very minimal. I would love to see the bigger picture. I would love to see this foundation on top in all over the world, not only in Uganda. So I pray that all caregivers can give all the warriors the support that they can as well. And caregivers should not get scared that they can't make it with their warriors. If I've made it with 3 beautiful warriors, one of them passed away, but nothing related to sickle cell. It was an accident and he got internal bleeding. But I thanked God that he gave me the time to be with him through the sickle cell episode that he went through. He had 2 major operations on his legs because of salmonella. But I didn't know God was giving me a time to bond with him and to bond with the rest of my warriors. So I'm on the same page with them. I know sometimes they're like, no, I know they can't say Mommy doesn't understand. They know I understand. I understand their pain, I understand. And I know they can't, it's very hard to get jobs, because the moment you get a job, you get strained, you're going to lose the job. So why not go into the foundation and help others? Which I also want to do. I want to be with all the caregivers and all the warriors. That's my last word that I have to say.